So one of the things that was very important to Peter and myself was somebody who had a really good understanding of these houses. So we ultimately chose Carbon Design Build because they have done many, many Hollin Hills houses. And so we knew that they would take care of the house, and there's been a lot of, I won't call them arguments, there's been a lot of discussion about certain things. So let me give you what I call my predominant example of this. These have beautiful original wood ceilings throughout the entire house. And it has a really beautiful aluminum roof. The problem is what's in between. This is a 73-year-old roof that really probably isn't meant to last this long, and yet we don't want to take it down. How do we make sure that it's sound, and yet how do we keep the integrity of it? So there were a lot of discussions of like one or the other have to come down, the ceilings or the roof, and in the end we just refused to take either down. So I will say I think there's something equivalent to crumbling tin foil in between them because we've scoped it. But it really just kind of came down to a lot of discussions about what we were willing to sacrifice versus what we were willing not to. I think if I had to sum up this house in the difficulties of it and yet the joy of it, I'd have to talk about the bathrooms. We're almost positive that these are the only two original ALCOA Carefree Home bathrooms left. It was so super important to us to fight for those bathrooms and to keep them, but yet they had to become functioning because they weren't even really functioning bathrooms when we purchased the house. It was in very bad condition. We had to redo the tub/shower parts of them because that had been patched pretty badly, and we needed to deal with the plumbing underneath of those tubs. We very, very carefully took apart those, and the best example of this is going to be that they're the sinks. So they have to be like gold-plated sinks. We have spent more money on 2 sinks than anybody should ever have to spend on any sink, and they're gonna look like nothing special to anybody but me because they're original ALCOA bathroom sinks. The thought was, okay, we wanted to keep them, but we couldn't because they were in such bad shape and totally rusted out. And we ultimately had to come to the decision of trying to keep those bathrooms sinks because we have big steel rods that go into laminate walls. And so if we tried to replace those steel rods would have to come down and those laminate walls would have to be ruined. And so we weren't really willing to take that chance because where does an original bathroom stay original and where have you changed too much where it's no longer original? So we finally found a welder who would take it on, and then our powder coater took it on from there. And we had to get rid of the overflow, and I think we had something like 11 JB Weld tubes that had to go through, and he had to grind it down, and then as he powder coated it and heated it, it would pop just like a porcelain tub might, and then he would have to sand it down again and do it again. But we went through that process because we really wanted to keep those laminate walls and keep the whole idea of everything, including our 2 built-in scales. So the house has 2 built-in scales that are really cool. It's been a joy and it's been a struggle. I've had more conversations about sinks and toilets than anybody ever should have to have.